Good morning. Welcome to worship with the community of First Unitarian Church of Omaha. My name is Della Bynum, and I will be serving as your worship associate this morning. Whether you are attending online or in person, I am glad you have chosen to join us for worship. A special welcome to visitors. This congregation is a community of all ages and abilities. It is a community with a rainbow of gender and sexual identities. It is a community of diverse cultural and class backgrounds. We draw from many sources of inspiration and share common liberal religious values. Whoever you may be, we welcome you to bring your whole self to this community. If you are joining us online, you are encouraged to create a YouTube account to sign into when you attend online. This will give you access to the command feature on YouTube. You can use comments to share joys and concerns that will be lifted up in worship, to say hello to other attendees, or to share something about how the service connected with you. For those here in person, you are invited to attend after service the coffee break downstairs. Our speaker today is Reverend Jennifer Innis. Next, we will have a stewardship moment with Gary.
Good morning. For those of you who don't know, I'm Gary Randall, and I am the stewardship chair for this year. Our stewardship program this year is called Connecting with Purpose. And you're going to see, although you can't see it, I don't think it's on the screen now, but we've seen that little circle that goes around with people all the way around it, and it's a connection of all the members of the church in a circle. Our goal this year is the same as last year, which is $275,000. And I just want to add that with regard to that, we also just finished a capital campaign, which was extremely successful. And that is going to help rebuild and restructure the basis of the foundation of this church, literally. I mean, we are the foundation as people, but we also have the foundation of the building. And so that campaign was extremely successful, and we're now hoping that the stewardship campaign is equally as successful. So as you hear the next several services over the next few weeks, you're going to be getting information about our stewardship program, and we are going to continue to. You're going to get really tired of hearing Connecting with Purpose because that's what you're going to hear multiple times in every service as we go through it. If you have any questions, you can contact me, you can contact Walt, or you can contact any of the, or Melissa, or any of the church staff members. And you know, this is the beginning. So if you have any questions, we are the people to talk to, and we can get an answer for you. But we need your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gary. I have another announcement. Visitors and friends are invited to the First Steps meeting after the service with membership coordinator Melissa Gibson. Did you want to come up? Okay. This is an informal opportunity to learn more about the church, the Unitarian Universalism, and our membership process. The meeting will start about 10 minutes after the service, and it will be in the Merit Lounge, which is just out the door. You can go downstairs and grab a cup of coffee and come back up to the Merit Lounge. Our church occupies the traditional treaty land of the Omaha and Otoe Missouri tribal nations, whose sovereignty existed long before the state of the Winnebago tribe of Nebraska, the Santee tribe of Nebraska, and over 170 other tribes represented in the Omaha area. At First Unitarian Church of Omaha, we invite all to join us and go beyond acknowledgments to educating ourselves and supporting causes, charities, rights of indigenous people in our area. Her next song will be Slumber Song by Robert Schumann, played by our pianist Elaine Wells. Next, we will have the chalice lighting by Mary Kay and Vic. Lighting the chalice is a symbol of our faith. As the chalice is lit, I invite you all to join in the chalice lighting words. Spark of the Spirit, cupped in earth's embrace, light of love, alive in all. This flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. They're still lighting the candles. They're lighting the candles. Our call to worship. Community Means Strength by Starhawk. We are all longing to go home to someplace. We have never been. A place half remembered and half envisioned. We can only catch glimpses of it from time to time. Community. Somewhere there are people to whom we can speak with passion without having the words catch in our throats. Somewhere a circle of hands will open to receive us. Eyes will light up as we enter the room. Voices will celebrate us whenever we come into our own power. Community means strength that joins our strength to do the work that needs to be done. Arms to hold us when we falter. A circle of healing. A circle of friends. Someplace where we can be free. The opening hymn is number 1000 in the gray hymnal, Morning Has Come. Oh, what did I say? A time for all ages. Children are invited to come forward to hear the story for all ages. This morning, Reverend Jennifer Innis will share a story about love and light at the center.
So I'd like to invite the young and the young at heart forward to join me for the story. Yay! And I do mean the young and the young at heart. You're welcome to come forward of any age and all ages. Thank you for joining me for the story. My name is Reverend Jennifer, and I have been here all weekend talking about stories and talking about children and youth programs with so many of your wonderful adults. And so we transformed. If you were in the elementary classroom, does it look really different this morning? Yeah. Yes, it does. So that's one of the ways that you think about how to do something with education, is to kind of change the space and change the feel and see what comes from that. And along those lines, we have a story that's from the kind of program that I was talking about yesterday, and I want to share that story with you today. Now, this is a story that's told a little bit differently than sometimes, because I'm going to be looking at the story. I'm not necessarily, until the very end, going to be looking up at people. So this is one of the ways that we model our own work, our own spiritual care. So I'm going to be modeling that for you as I tell the story as well. Okay. Now let's get ready for the story. And let's see. So let's see what we have here. It is yellow. I wonder. It is large and yellow and round. Let's see what else we need to get ready for the story. So this is our Unitarian Universalist community, the whole big community. And in that community, we want to back up so everybody can see a little bit. Could you do that? Thank you. Oh, the sides are good. We can sit on this. Coming all the way around to the sides is also just fine. This is made to be a big circle. Now, in our Unitarian Universalist community, we have people, all kinds of people. Just put them out in a big circle. I know. There's lots of different kinds of people. So some of these people have different kinds of jobs. Some of them are different shapes and sizes. Sometimes somebody wants to just add themselves into the people. So we've had a little creative drawing to add somebody into the people. And we have people of all ages, wearing different kinds of clothes. Lots and lots of people. And what's also wonderful about a circle is that we can always make it bigger to let people in. And I think, so in our Unitarian Universalist community, there's all kinds of ways in which we get to know each other, we get to be together. And sometimes we need to find ways to make a little bit more room for each other too. So we kind of squish things, we kind of back it up, and we make space. We make all kinds of space. I know, right? Yes. All right. I think that's all the people we have for right here. And so in our Unitarian Universalist community, we have, let's see what else we have in the story. We have a cup. I wonder what this cup could hold. It's also the kind of cup that sometimes when we light a chalice at the start of service or maybe at the start of class, so we can think of this as a cup, as a chalice that's available to everybody. And in that, we have a light. We bring a little spark and add that to our chalice. And that can be a bit of the mystery. It can be a spark in each of us. In our congregations, sometimes it can be a beacon. It can be many things all at once. And under all that we do at the center of things is the spirit of love and justice, the spirit that puts love into action, and the spirit of mystery that some people call God, or some people call the universe, some people call the holy. It goes by many, many names. And this we have at the center of everything we do, this spirit of love and mystery. Now, sometimes, as we gather in our communities, in Unitarian Universalism, whether we're at a congregation or we're online or just talking to each other, sometimes we get together, we get along with each other just fine. But sometimes, are there some times when we just disagree with each other? Yes. And sometimes we have to figure out how to get along, especially when we disagree. Sometimes we're just plain grumpy with each other, but sometimes we disagree over really important things. We have to figure out how to come up with answers all together. So we have some values by which we live and which we commit to each other that helps us make promises, make good promises, and take good care of each other. So the first one is equity. The first one is equity. And everybody gets what they need. We go raise every person. So it's red with raise every person. And in that, we make a promise to be an inclusive community, to raise everyone to get what they need. So the first is equity for raise every person. The next value at the center of things is interdependence. And there's a fabulous web. There's a fabulous web on this. And we use equity with orange to orient to the web of life. To orient to the web of life. So interdependence, we have equity and interdependence, and then one that's really, really important is justice, with the scales there for the balance of things. And for justice, we have yellow, and yearn for and build beloved community. Yearn for and build beloved community. And in this value, we especially promise to take apart racism and build a place that is equitable and safe for everyone, that is just and safe for everyone. So there's justice. So yearn for and build the beloved community. The next one is green, and it's generosity. And in that we have hands holding a flame. So we give. So it's green for give with hope. Give with hope. And in generosity, we promise to offer our faith and ourselves and our resources. We promise to give as much as we can to take care of ourselves, to take care of our Unitarian Universalism, and to take care of the world. There's green for generosity. The next value is blue. It's pluralism. Pluralism, which is kind of a big fancy word, but it means straight up be curious. There we go, blue for be curious. And in blue and pluralism, we promise to learn from one another and love our differences. To learn from one another and love our differences. Hey, can I have the spot for this one? Thank you. Okay. And that's blue. And the last one, because I said there were 6, so the last one is purple. And it's transformation. Transformation. And it has a lovely little image of a chrysalis. Great. With a caterpillar transforming inside. And with this value, we go for violet, which also is violet. It's a kind of purple. Violet for value everything that evolves. Oh, no, violet. Violet is the color. Yes, violet is the color. So, I heard. Value everything that evolves. And in this one, in this value, we make the promise to grow because we know we are never perfect. We are never done. We can always have room to grow. So that is transformation. So equity for and red for raise all, interdependence for orient to the web of life, justice for in yellow for yearn for and build the beloved community, generosity for give with hope, pluralism for be curious, and transformation for value everything that evolves. And with these values centered in love, then that helps us make great promises and good care for our wonderful Unitarian Universalism, and also helps build us up so that we can go out into the world and do good things and help make it more whole and more healed as well. So this is our Unitarian Universalist community and how some of the many ways we take care of it and each other. So I wonder, so now is the wondering, and I wonder what it's like to be in a Unitarian Universalist community. What's it like to do that? Yes. It's okay. It's okay. We have all the time. Yes, go ahead. Okay, treated kindly and nicely by other people, and for you to do the same to yourself, to other people. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Yes, go ahead. Do you play football with your friends? What a very good thing. Okay. Oh, and I like the Bruins too. I'm from Massachusetts, so I respect the Bruins as well. So I wonder if this looks like a kind of community that you might know. Yes. Oh, you think it's the one you're in right now? Ah, yes. And you are First Unitarians. Very good. And so we have all these opportunities to care and to learn. And there sometimes also is room for creatures and animals as well. That's true. So I want to thank you for joining me for the story. And watch how I put it away so it can be ready for the next person. So this is how we do that. So we put it away with equity and interdependence and justice and generosity, pluralism and transformation. We put the values away first. With the center of love and justice, and mystery that some people call God or the universe. We send our light into the world. We honor the cup, the chalice that is welcoming to all. And then we put away the people. We put away the people. Yes, you may. Yes, I'm help. Yes, please help. I'll put them into my hand. That'd be great. Okay. I love it. Yes, dancing people. All right. And now we get to put away the big yellow circle of the community. Can we try to fold that up just a little bit? I know. It fits better into the basket. All right. May I have that? Thank you. It'll work. It is all good. So thank you for joining me for the story, and now you get to return to your program.
Each week, we share our blessings with others through a community offering. Half of the loose currency in the offering plate is donated to local cause, which resonates with UU values. If you are online or prefer to give via your smartphone, you can use the QR code link provided. Our Share-to-Plate recipient for the month of February is Omaha Together, One Community. Our music will be The Little Shepherd by Claude Debussy. Let us share our joys and concerns. Those online can put items in the to be shared in the comment area. Colin McDonald will read those items which have been submitted in advance and items which have been submitted this morning.
From Carol Ramsey, saying our beloved Suzanne Arney is at Hospice House. She does not want visitors, but would welcome cards. Josie Harper Hospice House, 7415 Cedar Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68124. And from me, I would like to extend a very big thank you to Gene Wagner, along with Frank Wagner and John and Carolyn McNamara for hosting last night's macaroni hot dish dinner. Everyone else that was involved with that. I would also like to thank Diana and Daniel Bird for allowing me their ticket to that event as they had previous family obligations come up. A great time was had by all the attendees. From Amanda Burton, saying, I would like to thank Reverend Jennifer for sharing Spirit Play with our first UU community this weekend. I'm looking forward to sharing the story format with elementary students. That's it.
I would also like to thank David Richardson for the Tuscan dinner that last weekend. It was wonderful. It was one of the events from our fundraising activity. Our centering song is 1002, Comfort Me. Our next reading is by James Luther Adams. I call that church free. I call that church free which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence, that sustaining and transforming power not made with human hands. It binds together families and generations, protecting against the idolatry of any human claim to absolute truth and authority. This covenant is the character and responsibility and joy of worship in the face of death as well as life. I call that church free, which brings individuals into caring, trusting fellowship that protects and nourishes their integrity and spiritual freedom, that yearns to belong to the church universal. It is open to insight and conscience from every source. It bursts through rigid traditions, giving rise to new and living language, to new and broader fellowship. It is a pilgrim church, a servant church on all adventures of the Spirit. The goal is the prophethood and priesthood of all believers, the one for liberty of prophesying, the other for the ministry of healing. It aims to find unity and diversity under the promptings of the Spirit that bloweth where it listeth and maketh all things new. Our speaker this morning is Reverend Jennifer Innis. Reverend Innis joins us from Peoria, Illinois, where she enjoys life with her spouse, the Reverend Patrick Price, and their children, Nate and Abby. She is happy to be the minister with the Universalist Unitarian Church of Peoria. She is also the director of Spirit Play, a story-based program for young children and Unitarian Universalism. Reverend Innis is a third-generation Unitarian and Unitarian Universalist from Massachusetts. Before she settled in Illinois, her ministry took her from New England to Alabama, South Carolina, and Texas. Reverend Innis is thrilled to help start the Spirit Play and lead worship for the First Unitarian Church of Omaha. Reverend Innis.
So I'm enjoying the guest prerogative and taking the big pulpit. As someone who grew up in Unitarian Universalism in New England, you can imagine that this is familiar territory, a little piece of New England on the plains. This is beautiful. It is such a gift to be with this congregation in this moment. Thank you for inviting me here, for being here. It is such a gift. On any given Sunday, a promise begins anew. This promise is between one member and another, between minister and member, between our children and us, between the church and the world beyond these doors. This promise is that we will cherish and promote physical and spiritual and intellectual freedom. We will be responsible to one another for our relationships. And we will never cease to explore new revelation in beliefs. This promise is that we will love the world enough to put our very lives at stake for it to help it be more whole. And we make these promises because we seek connection to others and to the spirit of life. We want to strengthen the axis where meet what the 20th century Unitarian Universalist theologian Reverend James Luther Adams calls the intimate and the ultimate, whose relations between one another and between us and the larger mystery abound. And we accomplish this task with a liberal message, recognizing that our freedom is inextricably tied to others. And these promises help guide us. In many different ways in the life of the church, the people recognize the promises that are the foundation of the community. So new members sign the book. Agreements or goals set the relationship and aspirations between a minister and the congregation. We have the moving up of children in the congregation is one of those many promises made from the church to the child for lifelong support and nurture. And every year, congregations welcome new people or a change in relationship with promise. And these are acts of commitment between the one and the many. And this is the living that is intentional, not automatic. To use a computer term, this is not a moment when a minister or a member or a child is inserted into the system and expected to perform on demand. We are not plug and play. This is not what humans do, no matter the degree to which we are called to service with one another. The welcoming of people, the greeting of new guests is not merely people being brought into the congregation. It is also the congregation being willing to go to the people. It is a making of a new promise within the larger one that comes in every Sunday. It is to say yes to what we hope will be years together in the service to the Spirit of life. And then we make wonderful big new promises and commitments, and then what? So beginning tomorrow and the next day, how shall that promise be so lived? And that's partially what I want to talk about this morning. How do we keep making commitments and keep enduring? As I often say, as someone who preaches frequently, Sundays, they are relentless. Yes, and I love them. It's not the glory of any one particular Sunday, one particular moment in the life of the church. It is tomorrow It is the next Sunday after that that is the measure. It is the 52 and the 104 and the more Sundays are the sign of how each congregation lives its promise between one member and another, between ministers and members, between our children and us, between us and the world. It is the nature of the liberal religious promise to be renewed in every moment. We do not depend solely on the one that came before. It's the nature of Unitarian Universalism to be a living tradition. And we keep looking to tomorrow and keep looking to how shall we help each other where we are and in our ultimate concerns. So one of those essential tasks in those promises, those essential concerns, is being seen and affirmed. So I want to tell you about my first church memory. So I grew up in the Unitarian Universalist Church of Worcester, Massachusetts. Yes, Worcester, it's real. That's right. Go watch the Dunkin' Donuts ads with Ben Affleck, and yes, it's real. There's a wonderful curriculum known as the Haunting House. And this curriculum asks children to be engaged through the metaphor of a house and how to become at home in many ways in the world. This is for the younger elementary, so like first grade, second grade, so on. And this curriculum even had a section on the body as a house with age-appropriate conversation about anatomy and agency. In that sense, it was an earlier predecessor to our great sex education programs. So in my case, the one memory where it comes from is you always know when a congregation was doing the haunted house curriculum when you saw a village of refrigerator and stove boxes kind of show up wherever there was coffee hour, whatever was the largest space, because each child was asked to create their own house. And stove and refrigerator boxes are pretty good for this. And so somewhere you see this pop-up village show up. And in my case, this was when the curriculum was for kindergarten and first and second graders, and I had this experience of building my home within the embrace of the congregation. And there somewhere is a Polaroid, remember Polaroid? There's a Polaroid someplace of the stove box that I had and me peering out from underneath it. And with a big blue bat painted on it, I remember that bat. It was to ward off my brothers, because brothers. I had two younger brothers. And because, as I said, because these are very kind of bulky creations of houses, the place where these usually happened was in the same place as coffee hour. And indeed, in my case, it was in the fellowship hall, and where all the adults were having coffee every Sunday. And so I observed this. I remember this experience. And what I figured out in the experience of that moment was, here is me, being able to create my space and my house and my sense of self-understanding. And here are the adults and the rest of the congregation seeing this and welcoming me. At that moment, that was the moment I recognized how precious this congregation and this community was, and that I had a place in it. This realization was the foundational experience of promise and of faith development, whether or not I had those words at hand. I could perceive that commitment, and that commitment was not just for myself, but for where I was, but where we could go together. Not that the congregation was perfect. It is and was and is a fully human institution, as every religious body is. Some years were better than others. Some decades were better than others. I saw people, in the growing up at that church, I saw people be mad, disappointed, disagree, and even leave. And as a child, I absorbed some of what the adults were carrying around for religious trauma and bitterness especially against Christian traditions. I absorbed a little bit of that from the adult members. I had to recognize it and work through it and forgive them as well. And also, as a teenager, I had my first experience of witnessing a transgender woman at the very beginning of her public transition, and how she had found that place and how the congregation became her place. And I also saw how some people in the congregation really struggled with being welcoming for her. I mean, this was the 1980s, and we've made a lot of progress, but I remember that struggle too. I still love going back to that fellowship hall on the Sunday after Christmas, going back to that sanctuary where I grew up and offering the sermon at that holiday, as I often do. I remember being there as an 8-year-old child and feeling that all over again. That was the congregation that ordained me into ministry, and next month I have the privilege of celebrating 25 years of ordination, and it's just such a joy to think of them with so much love. So given how powerful and wonderful we can be, what are we doing now? What are we creating for our children and for each other today? We are amid a profound experience of brokenness. We are amid a profound experience of brokenness. The challenge before us is enormous. We are still very much on the ripples end of all that came during the pandemic, all that it meant, all the isolation, all the death, not knowing what was safe and not knowing what was this novel virus. We had elders and those with health conditions at a deep risk. We had parents and guardians trying to keep the children safe and still encourage their learning, still encourage them to be socialized, still encourage them to be healthy and in relationship. We had a broken healthcare system become even more visible than even as the system was remarkably fast in creating a safe vaccine. And millions of us had deep pressures to continue working even when just being employed and being out in the world was a risk. And we have all suffered from the politicization of the global health crisis that ripples into today. We are not okay from that experience. We are not. One of the moments, I started to serve in Peoria in August 2020. You remember 2020? Let's start with the congregation in 2020. Oh my gosh. And a little ways into that experience, like the second year or so, when people were starting to return to worship and church life and more in person, the families weren't yet coming back. It was for the sake of safety, and also it was not sure how to provide a program for what were the children and the parents, what were the adults and the children needing at the time, given such emotional trauma. There was a moment when an elder and I were talking, and this elder said, I miss the sound of children. I miss the sound of children. It's too quiet around here. And in their comment, I heard, I miss that sign of life that is so essential to church and to community. I miss that sound of life that signifies a future. If we ever wonder about the importance of what we do, this brought that home to me so deeply. There was a note of in that conversation, what I wouldn't give to hear the sound of children again. But of course, many things are true all at once, and the pandemic wasn't the only crisis that we've been experiencing the last several years. On a longer curve, as a society, we experience a loss of trust in institutions on a larger scale, especially in our country and by each successive generation. Each successive generation has been moving away from religious institutions as well, in no small part because religious institutions, well, they're kind of their worst enemies sometimes. They've caused their own damage that leads people to lose faith and lose trust and say, no, I can't commit to that again. We've also had some very visible hardships, racial reckoning, economic struggle, even when the economy was recovering from the pandemic, but individuals were not. We have health and disability concerns becoming more profound and more deeply impacting our lives. We have so many senseless wars that are so deeply entangled. How can we possibly get out of them? And of course, there is the global climate crisis, which can lead many of us to say, will there even be a future? And now, let's have a bonus crisis, shall we? This administration that seeks to dismantle what was working, however imperfectly, and what was keeping us in some reasonable modicum of health, of food where it was needed, of farm support, and much more. But now this administration is working to erase marginalized folks from society. Do not doubt that it is meant to be erasure, and promote instead that white and Christian is right, when it's really all about money and power and cruelty. We are experiencing the shaking of the foundations, as 20th century theologian Paul Tillich pointed out. We are in the moment when everything is up in the air, and what will come, we ask the question, what will come when it is hard to face the present, never mind the future? Well, I tell you, amid our loss of faith in institutions, we are still human. We still need places of gathering, of meaning, of sharing food. So even in a moment when many religious institutions are declining, there needs to be places for all ages, in all stages of life. We need places of discovery and freedom of inquiry, as the Reverend James Luther Adams points out. And I want to bring him in to this moment because he was one of our theologians from this country who had visited Germany in the 1930s and was deeply distressed by how the moderate Protestant churches were not speaking out against the Nazis. They did not speak out against the rise of the Nazis until it was far, far too late. Much of his life's work went into articulating the value of freedom, how we have power when we gather, how we are called to the service of others, and how we are part of a much larger existence beyond our own interests. We are, he says, a pilgrim church, a servant church, on an adventure of the Spirit, as he says in the reading. This liberty and mutuality are precious beyond price. And so you, this body, this people, have a chance to navigate all of these woes and all of these opportunities and all of the ways we are called to each other, and to grow and shift and sometimes bump into each other, make mistakes even with good intentions, find ways to repair and move forward, because this is the promise of Sunday, This is the promise of church. And we do everything we can to help create the good containers to do this work and to live into this liberty together. And so in that spirit, this weekend, I've had the pleasure of bringing in a new program into the congregation. So I'm bringing in a program called Spirit Play, and I'll say a little bit about it. It's based in story and ritual, play and creativity. It gives children the tools to make meaning of their lives and answer questions such as, who am I? Where do I come from? What is the meaning of life and death? And to do all that within the container of Unitarian Universalism. And we use what's called a Montessori approach with a prepared classroom, child-directed activities so the children can choose what they want to work on. We train teachers who are really guides in this process. And these elements all help the children have a chance to focus and choose their own path within the container of the room. And it's a safe environment, it's a welcoming environment, and something that allows the Spirit to roam free. Now, we typically start this program with our youngest preschool children, and it can be expanded as members become more familiar with it, as the children get more used to the method. So I want to say, Spirit Play was started in Massachusetts because a couple of educators and a minister wanted something that was more spiritual, not just about making a craft, but allowing more opportunity for engagement. And since being started in congregations in 2000, it's been now sent out to hundreds of churches across the country. And I have the good fortune to be the director after one of the main founders retired in 2018. The pandemic disrupted a lot of the flow of the development of it, but now congregations are kind of returning to that as a program and as a style for how to provide creative places for children with a range of ages and learning styles. And it was such a gift for me to be able to get to know some of your core volunteers in childcare and in children's religious education. I was brought here by Christina, your coordinator for children and youth, and her care and effort was visible in trying to create vibrant programs that would provide the kind of experiences I knew as a child. The kind where you're safe, we are seen, and to be encouraged amidst all the generations in the congregation, amidst the whole circle of people. And to foster core spiritual practices that will last a lifetime. The work of this is not easy. There is no, like I say, plug-and-play fix either. It is the work of generations, of many generations. And it's going to be a little bit of a disruption sometimes, too. It's not always going to be quiet and peaceful and so on. I'll tell you, one of the signs that I knew that Peoria was on a good track with our children and youth program was about 2.5 years ago. The children and youth for that year were all focused on community building. That was the curriculum, the first year coming back from really being in class from the pandemic. And it was kind of a one-room schoolhouse. Now, the layout of the Universalist Unitarian Church in Peoria is such that when I'm at the pulpit, I have a straight visual line down the foyer, down the hall, and into the education wing, into the common area in the education wing. And so there's one Sunday when the ushers had opened the doors as I was about to deliver the benediction from the pulpit, and all the doors were open from the sanctuary all the way through the RE wing. And I could see the very top of some great plastic block tower in progress. And as I was about to deliver the benediction, there was this fantastic crash. Crash, blocks everywhere. And this joyful dismay as that tower came down and scattered everywhere. That was a sign of life returning. That was a sign of life returning. You get a chance to do that with all the work you're doing in your building, is find the places of disruption, find the places of joy, and including when it makes a holy wow of a mess. Because if you haven't seen the nursery, let me tell you, it's a little torn up. It is disruptive to simply do church. It dislocates us when we humans love our spaces and ownership and dependability. The capital work that you are doing, the work for planning for the future, is that expression of community, and it is full of plaster dust. And you get to ask and answer the question again and again in the work that is the material work and in the work that's the spiritual work that supports it. How are you taking care of each other, even as you prepare to endure and have a future? As Reverend James Luther Adams talks about, I call that church free, which enters into covenant with the ultimate source of existence. It brings individuals into caring, trusting fellowship. It brings together families and generations, protecting against idolatry. We need some protection against idolatry in this day, don't we? Or any absolute claim of truth or authority. We do the work of protecting and nourishing integrity and spiritual freedom and belonging to all that is. This is this pilgrim church, this servant church on this adventure of the Spirit. And so I ask you as I close, this is your turn to choose the invitation to being a free church and a messy, fully human, beloved community. Will you accept the invitation? Amen. Please rise in body or spirit and join me for our closing hymn. You join me for our closing hymn, number 346, Come Sing a Song With Me. What other one are we going to sing, right? Come sing a song with me. We close with the words from the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, one of our excellent African-American grown UU ministers in our denomination. And he says, "The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of the larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow for all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together, our vision widens and our strength is renewed. Our worship is ended. Let our service begin.